Let's chat for a minute. So if you're not familiar with what happened today, Hellsweeper VR came out today. And that launched on the Quest platform, on PSVR2, and on PCVR. And the immediate reactions were, I watched a bunch of videos on it, but the immediate reactions were that the PSVR2 version was, we'll say, underbaked and needed more time in the oven. Essentially, it launched with graphics equal to the Quest version, which people who bought PSVR2 bought that headset expecting to get as close to PCVR fidelity as possible. And repeatedly now, it seems like a lot of the ports that have come over have been like slightly upscale Quest versions, not taking advantage of like the eye track dynamic foveated rendering and the processing power of the PlayStation 5. The Hellsweeper people, knowing this, put out this message. Dear Hellsweeper VR community, firstly, we would like to address the early reviews we received regarding the graphical quality of Hellsweeper VR on PlayStation VR 2. We genuinely appreciate your candid feedback and understand the concerns raised. Before we delve into the details, please know that we've already started addressing these issues even before the game's launched. That's really important. We'll come back to that. 3 years ago, we made a decision on our development pipeline. It was stable then, but hasn't kept pace with today's tools. This isn't a flaw of any platform, but a result of bad timing and decisions we made as a studio. Our choice to release the game on PSVR 2, despite the graphical concerns, was influenced by several factors: obligations, gameplay decisions, and the challenges of supporting crossplay across different devices. Our initial optimism met reality much closer to launch, resulting in compromises to maintain our vision. We chose to represent the core combat experience first with a commitment to post-launch graphical enhancements. We faced a crossroad: merely porting Quest 2's graphics or striving for PCVR model fidelity. We chose the latter, meaning PCVR, even if it temporarily compromised render resolution. Rest assured, we're addressing this in upcoming updates. For those who know us from our first game, Sorrento VR, we listen closely to our community and put our all into all of our games. Into our games. I'm ad-libbing there. We promise to do the same for Hellsweeper VR and are committed to improve the graphics for PSVR 2 in the coming months. For an in-depth look at our challenges and our plans ahead, we invite you to our Discord to view our full statement. As a small studio who owe our beginnings to the community who put their faith in us, our reputation and integrity as game developers means everything to us. A couple of choice things I want to point out there. Scroll back here. One of the things they said immediately was we already started addressing these issues even before the game's launch. So they knew this was going to happen. They knew this was coming. What I think happened is this. Okay, first they have a publishing deal. For those who don't know, Mixed Realms did not publish this game by themselves. They were published by Vertical Games. They're the people who made After the Fall. What happens when you get a publishing deal is that's Vertical Games going to Mixed Realms and saying, hey, we're going to help you get through the quality assurance process. In exchange for that, we'll say 30%. I don't know what the actual deal is. I'm just throwing the number out there. We want 30% of each game sales. So for every $10 you sell, we want $3. So now you're under contract with Vertigo Games, and that's owned by a parent company that I'll talk about in a minute. But you're under contract by Vertigo, and somewhere in that contract, it probably says something in the realm of, we will put out this game within 9 months, 18 months, something like that. So now you've got a deadline to hit, and you're also putting in your contract, we're going to publish it on Steam, on PSVR 2, and on Quest. So if you need to delay for any reason, now it's not just, hurting the bottom line of the people in your company in the Mixed Realms office, but you also might be violating that contract. Vertical Games is also owned by a parent company called Embracer Group, and that group has had a lot of financial difficulty lately. They've gone through a ton of layoffs. Google Embracer Group and you can look some of that stuff up, but that group's in a lot of trouble, and there was some speculation that Vertical Games was going to be in a lot of trouble too. Embracer even put out a statement saying, we are halting any third-party publishing deals and we're focusing on everything that's in-house. That didn't affect this deal because this deal was already sold. But Vertigo, as far as I know, likely is not going to be signing any more games to be published by them until Embracer kind of gets their financial house in order. God forbid, let's fingers crossed that they don't close down Vertigo Games entirely. So there's that. And then there was the word obligation. So now we got the Vertigo Games piece. And once you go through the quality assurance process and you select your release date on Meta, on all the platforms work like this. I've heard this from every single person, or from someone who's published on every single platform. Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, they all work like this. Once you get a release date, if you have to push for any reason, it's not like, oh, we just need to push it 2 weeks. They're like, okay. A lot of times those release dates are slotted and they're going to release a certain number of games within a certain time window. So then you go to the back of the line and now you have to release weeks, if not months later. We've seen that countless times with Quest games over and over and over again. where they'll just delay anywhere from like 2 weeks to 6 months. I've seen the game delayed at least 6 months. It is very, very hard to make a game, and if they spent 3 years just making this game, and from what I understand, it's a fairly complex game, even though it's a roguelite. Now you're trying to optimize it on 3 different platforms, one of which is PC, which Prop Logic in chat right now will tell you PC VR or PC optimization period is very, very difficult because of the number of different iterations of GPUs and CPUs and RAM and all that stuff that you go through. There's no way that you can optimize for every single possible rig. Now chat VR on top of that, now you're optimizing for every single possible rig and every single VR headset. There's no way to cleanly do that. And then the third part of it is just straight up, PSVR2 just came out in February. It's very, very likely that Steam's monthly average users is still higher than what PSVR2's installed user base is, because a lot of developers have been very, very upfront about the fact that their games haven't sold as well on PSVR2 as they have hoped. So if you're publishing on Quest, PCVR, and PSVR2, I would hazard a guess that PSVR2 is probably the last one on the list in terms of like what's going to drive revenue. So it's probably the last one you're going to get to in terms of optimization. As bad as that sounds, that's just reality, because this is a business and people have to make money. So you're going to spend more time on the one that's going to make you less money. So you add all that stuff up, and we've seen this time and time again with PSVR2, and I'm starting to feel bad for those owners. You end up with a version that wasn't really good to go at launch, but just like just like the Light Brigade, just like Switchback, just like No Man's Sky is the most recent example, they're going to go back and make it better later. But you only get one chance to make a first impression, and this might have burned some bridges. There were a ton of videos and a ton of chatter on social media about how bad the PSVR2 version was today. Green Hell, thank you, Samson. That was another example. How many of those people are going to circle back to Hellsweeper in a month, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, whatever it is, however long it takes them to get that update out, and then circle back and see, oh, the game's fixed now, let's go. No Man's Sky was an anomaly. Switchback got an update, and I saw maybe 2 or 3 videos saying it was better. The Light Brigade got an update because they had a dynamic foveated rendering, and no one talked about that. No one mentioned it. I actually had the date to look it up when I was researching for another video. Hardly anyone circled back to Light Brigade and said, oh my god, it's so much better now. So how much attention is Hellsweeper going to get for this versus how much bad PR are they getting right now? This statement was very, very good, and I was laughing at the people who said they should have put this out before the game release. Again, you don't know how business works. If they put this out before the game release, it would have tanked on PSVR2, 100%. I passed on it because I looked at the launch lineup and said there's maybe 1 or 2 games I want to play. But other than that, I feel like I'm just going to play graphically better versions of the games I play on Quest right now. And that's not something I'm really interested in. And so far, that's proven to be true. And you look at what's on the horizon, because it seems like PSVR2 people keep like moving the goalposts on, oh wait, well Sony's now going to wait until the summer and then put out something awesome. We're past the summer, that hasn't happened yet. We're waiting until the fall. It's about to be October. We're about to be in holiday season. We're waiting for the holiday season. Well, when are you gonna announce? You could at least announce and hype up the games you have coming. You haven't done that yet. So they just keep moving the goalposts on when Sony's going to basically unleash the Kraken and bring out all their first party stuff. I just don't think that's gonna happen at this point. At least not this year. So you look at the last few games that come out for PSVR2, you look at Firewall Ultra. A lot of people were upset about that because everything's a button press. There's no like manual reload. You hit a button to reload your gun, which pissed a lot of people off. Crossfire Sierra Squad, and people feel like they were falsely advertised to because it's basically an on rails, even though it's not on rails, arcade shooter. What was the one before that? No Man's Sky, people were disappointed about that until the DFR update happened, and now people are loving the game again. But again, when it launched, it looked just like the PlayStation VR 1 version. They haven't ported Farpoint. They haven't ported over Blood and Truth. They haven't ported over Astrobot. It seems like there's been letdown after letdown after letdown after letdown for PSVR2 owners, and I'm starting to feel pretty crappy for them because there was so much hope when that headset came out, and it seems like time and time again they just keep getting let down. Anyone covering PSVR2 right now saying they will show anything before winter 2023 is not even in the realm of understanding how Sony does marketing. Yep, Sony would have, if there were a big game coming for PSVR2, Sony would have marketed that months ago. If you look at what's coming on the horizon now, you've got, what do you have? You have Foglands, you have the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is going to be huge. I'm not going to deny that. We got Foglands, and that'll be on Quest, and Journey to Foundation, which will also be on Quest. So the big one you're hanging your hat on is yet another remake of Resident Evil 4, which while that will be good because Resident Evil 4 in general is just a fantastic game, you're now, the biggest hype you have for your headset is another remake, probably the 5th or 6th remake of a game that came out 20 years ago.